good. Was it? Write down, Ian. Ian, write down. Ian.
Watch your bite. Come on. Come on. That's a girl. Good fighting. That's what we're working on. You seen it? Okay, now where is it? Yeah, there it is. You hear it?
You're here with us for these next 2 days to hear what happened when a group of parents decided that they wanted something better. As parents of a family member with a mental handicap, we've all encountered the same dilemma. The system that said they knew best, the institution, was not responding to the needs of our sons and daughters. And all of you who have sons and daughters in the institution know that. No matter how hard you've tried to support them and to enhance the lives of your sons and daughters in the institution, it's impossible. The system cannot respond.
If anybody had told me that my son would end up at an institution, I would have just said it would be over my dead body. Well, it almost was. It almost was. But it was 14 years. 14 years later. So, you know, in that 14 years, I didn't realize what it was until my son got into an institution, and then I realized what I was facing, but I didn't realize the logistics of how to get out of it, or how to conduct myself, or the traumas that would be, or anything.
I had 2 other small children. I didn't think that I could care for Robert. Robert had developed epilepsy. He was having seizures. Robert's brain was very badly damaged, and there was nothing they could do. And everybody seemed to recommend that this was the best thing to do, was to put Robert into an institution. But I agreed, reluctant.
It's a burden that becomes intolerable because of the demands that are made on you as a mother. And I don't know of another parent who has placed their child in an institution that hasn't said exactly what you and I are saying, that it's either that child going into the institution or the mother going into psychiatric ward.
Yes.
And I know that was the decision that we were faced with.
The Community Living Society has been developed by families. They were willing to make sacrifices and commit themselves to putting something in place. They had to do this because there was nothing in place.
What happened was when we got together, all of us, as we told our stories and looked at what was necessary, we discovered that we'd all been sent down different tunnels, and just to be sent back again. Like, you know, we'd go to somebody who was supposed to be the support authority in the community, and we'd say, this is our need, and they'd say, oh, well, you're in the wrong place, but if you go over to that person and go down that tunnel, you'll find, or, you know, go to those services, they'll be fine. So you go to that service, and you go down another tunnel, and there'd be nothing at the end, so you get sent back again. They'd send you to another desk or another office, and this went on over and over again until finally you had exhausted all the desks or all the tunnels, and before you knew it, you're standing there by yourself with your son or daughter. And there was nobody that you went to. I can remember the day that I went to the person in the Ministry of Human Resources in British Columbia who was supposed to be the ultimate authority in giving me something for our needs in terms of our son, only to be told there was absolutely nothing she could do, and I went home. I went home. You know, there was nowhere else to go. You just went home. And we all had that same story.
She was 6 weeks old when she started having petit mal seizures. Till she was 4. Those 4 years were terrible, and not knowing what was wrong. But the diagnosis was the worst. And then about a year to take it in here and start to say, okay, I'll accept that, and I will go ahead and do the best I can. She's ours, and she's needs us, and we just have to take care of her. Who else will take care of her? I came home and I said to my husband, oh, Joe, I will die with her, but I will not put her in there. I can't. I just couldn't. I said, I just couldn't. And he says, okay, then we won't. But he says, I'm so afraid for you. What if you get sick? Then what will I do? And I thought, it's just devastating what goes on.
And I used to go up and he'd sit on my knee, which he never did at home. And I knew that he missed me. And each time I used to go up, I used to want to bring him home. And it's just like a death, really. Awful. And I look back and think about it. But gradually, like everything else, you get used to it, I suppose, in a way. But you never do, because every time you go, your heart cries.
Yes, yes,
Thank you. Say thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. I think every one of us here has not been able to dream in the past because we looked at our sons and daughters' handicaps. We didn't look at their strengths. We didn't look at what they can do. We looked at what they couldn't do. And that was when I started to begin to dream, and it was very, very, I think it was about the second meeting of the Wilderness Parents Group. All these parents were talking about school programs for their kids and this program for their kid, and I sat back and I said, well, you know, that's fine for you, but our son can't do anything. And, you know, he doesn't think, so how can he learn? And one of the parents said, you know, asking for a program doesn't mean that Norman has to be able to learn to read and write. He doesn't have to know that 1 and 1 equals 2. A program, a developmental program, is something that will help Norman to learn to take the food from the table to his mouth, because he couldn't even do that. He would have sat at a table filled with food and starved to death. He was not motivated. He couldn't do that. that was a revelation to me. That's when I turned around. I started then to dream that Norman could do this. That little step, it's a few inches. Then I started, now.
With the proper supports, our sons and daughters could manage very nicely in the community. The only reason they were in the institution was because the supports hadn't been there years ago when they were
Although,
there.
Babs, you didn't believe that at first. I didn't believe it at first. And it wasn't until the day our kids moved out of that institution that we really believed they could, you know.
You young folks fare pretty well here, believe me. Meals like this. Boy.
I can make a sandwich in it. I can make a crazy sandwich in it.
That is really good.
You haven't got everything yet, Joanne. Just relax.
Yeah, we got veggies yet.
Tasty.
Gee, you're about ready?
So what about
Vinny?
Vinny? What does he do? No.
Vinny?
What work does he do?
Maybe we should just say, how do you spend your money, Vinny? You make lots of it,
Yep,
don't you?
yep.
Yeah, I'll say
How
you
do you make your money then,
Yep.
Vinny? What do you do?
McDonald's.
Keep your elbow in a bit.
McDonald's.
Burger.
McDonald's.
No, you spend it at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Vinny's working with a speech therapist. Every 2 weeks she comes over to the house and works with him. So that's what he's using signs and
Oh.
so he's been putting together pretty quickly and picking up on it.
That's good, eh?
What does Brock do in the daytime?
He's
he's-
with the CLS day module.
Right.
So he's also working.
Oh, he's doing the polishing.
He has
Right.
2 different jobs. He got 2 checks this week, which was kind of neat.
You haven't cashed them, have you?
No.
Because I just thought we've got to frame those checks, Farron, okay?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we'll cash them for him, but we have to keep those. We're going to frame them. Those are going to go up on the wall, believe me. That has to be a first. I mean, for Brock to be out in the workforce and earning money. It's really,
that
really
great?
exciting.
He's making more than Joanne and Vinny.
Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe
just
it.
about.
Oh,
So
really?
Joanne may want to change jobs.
After getting rid of all our frustrations and our anger, we began to talk about an alternative for our kids. And because of the families that couldn't yet dream about the alternative, and because of the needs of our own sons and daughters, our efforts became twofold. We determined that we would do whatever we could to get a foot in the door of the institution and help to change the lives, the quality of life for our sons and daughters in the institution while they were there. And the other commitment that we had was to put into place an alternative to the institution.
It is so bright.
Let's go have a look. Hey, Marina, let's go look at your new house. See your new house, Marina? She's smiling. Oh, look at that smile. Come on. Come on. Let's go see your new house.
Okay. There we are. That chest good is not my favorite. Should have gotten the girls to do it.
We're gonna go to the English Bay and have blueberry ice cream. Yeah? Are you gonna save one for me? Bring it home? Yeah? You gonna go down into the water? Paddle? Dip your feet in the water? That might be nice. It might make you feel better. And then we'll unpack everything and get your new house ready.
I'm riding along, singing a cowboy song. Riding along, singing a song. Ole, 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 ole. My pony is a beauty, his name is Buckaroo. Whatever I may ask him, he will know just what to do. He'll canter oh so slowly, or he'll gallop like the wind. Ole, 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 ole. Good one. Joyce Stewart. Nice.
we came to believe in very, very specific beliefs and values. And these are, the ones that we developed were that we believe that each person is a unique individual, having worth no matter what the degree of handicap. We believe that each person has the right to live a life of dignity. And we believe that each person must have their personal autonomy protected at all times, and every effort must be made to nurture the development of self-determination for the individual. And fourthly, we believe that each person should have the opportunity to live as a full member of society in his or her own community.
You do that until it's all mixed. All right? Can you keep on doing that? Keep going like we were going. Don't worry if it sticks to the fork, it'll come off. How are you doing? Going to need some milk. Do you like coconut? Yeah. Do you want a lot of it?
Yeah.
Okay, stand back. Tell me when.
Right.
Well, no, it's when there's enough. Tell me there's enough.
Enough.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
No more?
I can have something else instead of crazy tea because it makes my nerves bad.
Tea's bad for your nerves?
Yes, I like something else instead of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yes, please. And a jar. Okay? If I do this right, I can do it fast. Okay?
Good for you. That's just the right amount.
Who's that?
Boy,
Boy, what's he doing?
not my dad.
He's...
Hey.
No, he's
Right.
running, right. Boy,
Right.
running, fast, fast, right.
Fast.
Who's that?
No.
Is that a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Not a girl.
Girl.
Not a girl. It's a
Boy.
boy. What's he doing?
Hey.
Come on.
No.
Eating.
Hey.
Eating what?
Wait.
Supper.
Well,
Who just ate their supper?
me.
Right. What are we going to do now, Vinny?
Right there.
Put the TV on. No way. We've got to work. Let's see what else I've got here.
Oh.
And so they formed the Community Living Society, which is a non-profit society incorporated under the Societies Act in British Columbia. Part of their commitment from government was that each individual had dollars, and that individual wanted to go into the marketplace and purchase or develop or stimulate services that they needed as an individual to live in the community. So then the board hires a broker or a technical arm to carry out the planning and the contracting with the individual.
You see, that was very important to us as families, that we didn't want to be the people doing. We wanted to be involved in the planning, but we didn't want to have to be the ones running around the city knocking on doors and stimulating people to respond.
Community Living Board.
The main thing with George is that he's extremely prompt dependent. He's a person who will do virtually anything that you ask him, but he'll do almost nothing unless he's asked or told to do it.
I think he's hiding a lot behind the whole thing, like you were saying earlier, you know, you wait for you to be told every 5 minutes what to do, what's next. And I think that's like I was saying, I liked him on some of the outside stuff like the flyer crews, because with the flyer crews, he's going to be forced to do a certain amount of stuff on his own. You know, he's going to forced to make a decision. Is he going to stand on the top of the step forever, or is he going to come back down and join the rest of us?
And then maybe we can think of someone who's already working and put him as a second client in with someone who's already with a staff and client who's already working in some company and try that out.
Yeah, that'd be a possibility. That would be one of the ways to go.
looking at the individuals who may get funding in the near future. I guess the next one we should discuss is Ron. And Janet, you're his broker. Maybe what we should do next then is have you arrange to take him to dinner at one of the houses so he can experience some community living, okay?
You'll be with George and Duncan today, okay? Okay, Tom? Go ahead.
George, you want me to see?
Marshall, you're in the new van. Eddie, Norman, go ahead. You're in the van today.
What are you doing?
Steve, you're in the new van today. You're doing yard work this morning and flyers in the afternoon, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Come on, Barack. You gotta go upstairs to get the cold now.
Okay, you jump in.
You have Mr. Cole up there.
Where's Justin?
Okay.
In the back.
You have to work hard, remember? You'll be in the new van when it comes, okay? Okay, you and Eddie.
One of the most important lessons we've learned is that you cannot bring a person from the institution and just put them into a living situation or into a home and say, now, our job is done, and you can be there. It's a nice house and everything for 24 hours of the day. If it's a child, of course, the obvious thing is that we go to the school, we find the most quality program that we can in the schools, and we negotiate with the school boards, and the person just goes to school, hopefully integrated. Sometimes we have to compromise on that for a while, but we fight to get integration into schools because that's a must. So what we have to do is to make sure that the folks have some opportunities to spend their days meaningfully.
Okay, you want to do it up?
Yeah.
Do the bicep. Other way, Marilyn. This way. Then slide it out. Again, push that up.
Okay. And what's this?
Mushroom.
Mushroom. What?
Soup.
Right. Okay, I want 7 cents.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
How much did I say I needed? Okay, give me 7. I don't want 9. I want 7. What?
2,
No, leave it 10 like we
4,
I know.
5, 6, 7.
That's right.
Yeah, kupala.
But now that you've decided that you want him to live in the community, one of the first things that happens after that is for you to have a community placement conference, about Sean out at Woodlands. And at that time, there's a broker who will represent the Community Living Board who will be planning for Sean to come out into the community. And then you'll be there as Sean's parents, and I'll be there supporting you as the family support. And then there will be a representative from all of the different departments in Woodlands. So it's going to be a fairly big meeting.
This will be an update to determine what Sean needs in order to live successfully in community.
To date, there's been no developmental money set aside in the region for Sean. Mr. and Mrs. Phillips have met with the regional manager, and the region is very aware of Sean's needs, and I think they've expressed a commitment to you to plan for him once there's some money made available.
That's right, they did.
Within the socialization domain, Sean's play and leisure skills were rated to be developed to a higher level than his interpersonal skills. His disruptive and uncooperative behaviors are his biggest problems. He also displays, as was mentioned, digging and smearing of feces. Mal problems were recorded with self-abuse, aggression, and eating dirt and grass.
Behavior is another of Sean's weaknesses. He seems to be very jealous of certain people. He attaches himself to his favorite person and then won't let them pay attention to anyone else. If attention is not forthcoming, he displays bad behaviors to get this attention. Those behaviors will escalate until he gets this attention. He will sometimes spit, scream, bang his feet, smear, hit, or do something else until he gets someone's attention. At these times, we have found it best to reprimand him and remove him from the group, generally to the center of the room or time out. He is again allowed to take part when he behaves himself.
Yeah, I still believe that, I guess, I just know from experience that these behaviors will diminish.
I'm not quite that optimistic.
Yeah, I know you're not, but all I can say, Ross, is that we're speaking from experience. And they have diminished, and they do diminish, and they diminish very, very quickly. And so, you know, we're going on the experience that we've had.
I think you do have to take into consideration that it's a very long-standing behavior, and sometimes to change old habits does take more than just a change in environment.
Yes, I have observed Sean a number of times in the classroom when I've been seeing other children. And as I say, I didn't see these behaviors. I have heard them from the family, and I know it's a concern. But I think, as Babs Stewart was saying, our experience is that they do tend to dissipate and disappear as the child is in, or the adult is in, a smaller group setting. Yeah, so I think the thing would be, from my experience with working with children in the community, is to find out what activities we can get him into and keep him as active as possible in a positive way.
I think the more time he can spend around so-called normal people to model, I think that's got to help. He's not much of a model himself, I'll be first to admit that, but if he was around a lot of normal people who are acting at least semi-normally, I would think it would help.
Mm-hmm. That is all a part of what's going to happen for Sean once he comes into the community, and this is where the planning comes in and looking at the strengths that Sean has and how those can be developed and how those can be expanded.
Hello, Mrs. White. It's Brian Salisbury calling from the CLS. As you know, I'm coming out to dinner tomorrow night, and, you know, given the fact that Bill tends to get, you know, agitated or anxious if he knows that there's a possibility of a community placement coming up, I'm just wondering how we're going to play it. I didn't want to alarm him either as to, you know, being introduced as the broker from the CLS.
So we've got to ask about that, you know, when they think that it would be possible for Robert to come out.
They don't seem to give you too much hope in these letters.
Yeah. If they would allow Robert to have the funds attached to him that it's costing them to keep him in Woodlands,
yes,
then that would be, in most cases, it's more than enough.
Yes, I'm sure.
In some cases, they need fewer, you know, less funds than what it requires in the institution because it doesn't cost that much.
Tell Brian what you do in your coffee program.
Coffee program is you make coffee and you fill up water, 10 cups.
And then?
Muffin.
And you take them around to all the different offices, don't you?
And you're involved in that every day, like Monday to Friday?
Monday, Friday, I go to school. Monday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Thursday. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I go to school 1 hour.
But if it's a nice day, he likes coming home by bus, and it's good for him, you know, to to be able to do the bus run.
No more for me. I had enough.
You're
Why,
just-
Bill? Because I had enough. I don't want to get fat.
Now, you're gonna have to explain this to me because I don't know.
Bill White was 75. Please carry his book with him home visit.
Yep. Okay, well, maybe you do.
Red Star, come to here.
If
Red
Bill-
Stars are the.
Well, it's
the ones.
it's actually he was on a program before whenever he was threatening and that, and it was if he did threaten and did act up, he got a black star and was sent back to
Right.
the ward. However,
That didn't seem to
they
work.
didn't seem to work, and the psychologist thought up a program where he would get a red star whenever he was good.
Everything
And
was positive.
Everything was positive. It was a more positive program because the
Right.
black star
No
was a
negatives.
negative program. If he has any problem at all, well, the red star is just eliminated for that day. But there's no black
But there's
star.
no black stars at all.
Now 2 more weeks.
Not this Friday, and next Friday coming.
Okay.
After that.
2 more
Give
weeks.
me my hugs. Give me
You
my
already
hugs.
had?
Yeah, but you're going to
I'll
get
do
more.
another
More.
one.
You get good value this time.
Okay. Okay.
Say goodbye to Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Pleasure meeting you, Bill, and we'll see you again soon.
Soon. See you.
Okay, let's go.
See you again soon.
Come on, Murph. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, and this is a waste.
No, you've got past it before. You can do it now. Just step to the one side.
We were very lucky that Woodlands put him on a program to bring him back again, you know. And now he's very, very anxious to get back into the community again. And he sees his friends and moving out, and he wants to know when he's
That's pretty
moving
difficult
out.
for him.
He's getting very anxious because he figures that the longer he stays there, maybe he's being bad. Maybe he's going to be there forever.
So does he talk to you quite often about the
Yes.
possibility of moving out?
Yes, he talks about it all the time.
Right.
And we have to, you know, go easy with it and tell him, well, it's not a matter that he's bad or anything that he's in there. It's just that we have to wait until there's money provided.
Good morning, Human Resources.
Ourselves in terms of what has happened and maybe what it is that you're requesting at this particular point in time.
I feel that Robert could come out and
Right.
could live as near a normal life as possible. And I think he should have it.
At this point in time, unless the CLS, through Mrs. Dickey, were to have a vacancy, which, like the Toronto Gill homes, don't come very often, there's not much chance in the immediate future of finding what we would all collectively call a suitable placement outside of Woodlands.
Okay, what about, say, in Robert's case, would there be any possibility that he might be eligible for any other funds, crisis funds initially, to facilitate that?
The question of what could be offered should he go to CLS, I think, has to be sort of addressed at the time he's placed. If it's a new resource with new funding, then of course we're limited by the amount of funding that's made available initially. If he's going into an existing resource, then we're limited a little bit by the cost of his day program. You know, what's going to be available.
How then could Mary get her son on, if there is a priority list or if there's some that are coming out, you know, ahead of others? How on earth, how could she get her Robert on that list?
Well, there's all kinds of priority lists, I guess. Certainly he's very high on yours, and he's certainly high on CLS's. But in terms of Mr. Hoogstraten and his responsibility, he's responsible for a number of people in Woodlands trying to find alternatives. He has community clients that probably require placement. He doesn't have resources for them. And he has other parents, of course, asking for that service. And I think it's sort of academic because he hasn't got the money for probably, or at this point in time, vacancies within resources to adequately serve, or just to accept somebody.
Hi there. Hi, Ron. My name's Andy. How are you? Nice to meet you, Ron. I think Ron's checking out. That's right. Jamie?
Would you like to say grace? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, God,
God.
for good food, good friends. Amen.
Amen.
Wait, do you have meat okay for you?
Okay.
This guy right here.
Had a hard day at work, eh, Tom? You can drink it slowly. There's lots more. Just go slow, Ron.
That's it. Okay, try to get right in the back. Actually, I'll try and push this one back. And make room right there, in the back there. Okay? Good grip on it. Okay. That's great, Tom. That's perfect.
Ron, that's pretty exciting, isn't it? Hey? You're going to be living in a house like Tom and Jamie and Norman. Yeah, you'll have your own bedroom, hang up your own clothes, and have your very own things. Okay? And nobody else can take them. Can your mom and your sister, they can come for dinner and visit you? So we'll be coming to pick you up every now and then to go out and see different things and visit the community. And then someday you'll leave and you'll go to your new house. And you won't come back to Woodlands.
Bill White's placement planning primarily, so we could